to let us. Now, every political party in Tamil Nadu has taken a position on this. And here, one of the reasons why we are debating it is in looking at these two issues, the Kachchatheevu issue and the fishermen issue. Two parties, the Congress and the DMK, have approached this matter as though they have no responsibility for it, as though the situation is for central government, today's central government, for them to resolve. There is no history to this. This has just happened. They are the people who are taking up the cause. That is the way they would like to project it. So the purpose of the press conference today, why I am talking to all of you, is we believe that the public has a right to know. The public has a right to know how did this situation come about. How was Kachchatheevu, how was the 1974 agreement reached? How was Kachchatheevu given away? How was the fishing issue handled? Because please understand, the fishing issue actually emanated from a 1976 agreement. So there are two agreements we are talking about. So because these have been live issues, because they have been discussed earlier also in Parliament, two documents were sought from us as an RTI request. And these were provided. One was a document about Ministry of External Affairs summary background note for the meeting of the Informal Consultative Committee in 1968 on this issue. And the second was a record of discussion of a meeting between the then Foreign Secretary and the then Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Honorable Kalaignar Karunanidhi, in June 1974. Now, the point today is we know there are two agreements. We know there's a 1974 agreement. We know there is a 1976 agreement. We know who did this. How has the situation arisen? What we do not know is who hid this, who has been party to it, what has been concealed from the public, and we believe it is the right of the public today to know how did this situation come about. Now, with regard to the Kachchatheevu issue itself, there have been claims and counterclaims. India had its arguments. Sri Lanka had its arguments. In fact, in one of the two documents, both documents actually, but one has more detail than the other, these claims have been spelled out in some detail. India's claim is mainly that the Kachchatheevu island belonged to the Raja of Ramnath, and that he had it from the time that East India Company assigned it to him. It was part of his zamindari rights, and these rights also included fishery, and also that later on these rights moved from the Raja of Ramnath to the Madras government. A second argument was that during after independence, for many years, Indian customs regularly went to Kachchatheevu, and this was not obstructed. And the Indian view also was that there was absence of any documentary evidence to show that Sri Lanka had an original title to Kachchatheevu. So these were largely the Indian arguments. The Sri Lankan argument, which also this document, which has been obtained under RTI, has released, was that according to them, they have records which go back to the 17th century, and that they also feel there were some conferences where which looked at their claim in a more positive manner. This is their claim. Now, what actually happened on Kachchatheevu was, after both India and Sri Lanka became independent, there were issues between the military of the two countries about using this island. And that's how this issue actually came up as an issue between the governments. And from the 1960s, this issue picked up, and it was particularly discussed. There were many discussions, but I think the most important one was a discussion in 1974, few months before the Kachchatheevu agreement was done, when the then Sri Lankan Prime Minister, Sirimavo Bandaranaike, came and met Indira Gandhi ji, who was then Prime Minister of India. So this broadly is the issue. These are the claims. But as I said, we know who did it. We are today looking and discussing who hid it. Now, in all of this, whenever there is a territorial dispute, it is natural that there is a request. You know, you take a legal view of what is the claim. So at this time, the legal view was actually originally sought from the then Attorney General of India, Shri M.C. Setalvad. Many of you would be familiar. He was a very famous person. He was a legal luminary. Now, it's very interesting. Shri Setalvad gave his legal opinion as the Attorney General in 1958. In that opinion, he says, the matter, and I'm reading from it, the matter is by no means clear or free from difficulty, but on the assessment of the whole evidence, it appears to me that the balance lies in favor of concluding that the sovereignty of the island was and is in India. So this is the opinion of the then Attorney General. In fact, he not only mentions that, he also says, because please note, he says that the matter is by no means clear. He says whatever is agreed, it can also be limited by custom or treaty, and therefore Mr. Setalvad suggests that it may be possible for India to contend that there exists a right by custom in the Indian fishermen to fish in the territorial waters of the island. So essentially, the Attorney General is saying that the balance of the balance is something which goes in favor of India. But even if it doesn't, there is still a case. There is still a case to insist on fishing rights, access of Indian fishermen to the waters of this island. Now, interestingly, other than the Attorney General, you know, the Ministry of External Affairs also has a legal department. So we had a gentleman there at that time called Dr. K. Krishna Rao. He was a very eminent person dealing with international law. And Mr. K. Krishna Rao also takes a very interesting view. He says, I'm not suggesting that we have no case at all, but I submit that our legal case in this connection may be used to obtain fishing rights around the island. So what we have essentially is, you have the main legal people, and please bear in mind, we are talking 1958 and 1960. The main people actually saying, look, we have a case, it may not be a 100% case, we don't know where this case may go, but at least we should insist minimum that we should get fishing rights. And as I told you at the beginning, the island was also given away in 1974, and the fishing rights were also given away in 76. And whether in 74 itself, was there any sincere effort to press for fishing rights? I think I'll leave it to you to conclude, because 1976 shows otherwise. Now, if this is the situation, you will ask, how did this happen? Now, how did this happen has many aspects to it. One, and perhaps to me the most basic, I would say recurring one, is actually